In the summer of 2005, in a small suburban town, the air was thick with the scent of blooming flowers and the promise of warm, lazy days. Families enjoyed backyard barbecues, children played in the streets, and life seemed blissfully normal. Yet, beneath the surface of this idyllic community lay a dark secret that would shatter lives and forever change the fabric of the families involved. At the center of this story was Emily, a vibrant and ambitious woman in her early 30s. She had always been the anchor of her family, balancing a fulfilling career with the demands of motherhood. Emily was married to Mark, a charming and seemingly devoted husband with whom she had 2 young children. Their relationship appeared strong, marked by shared laughter and dreams of a bright future. Emily's mother, Joan, was a constant presence in their lives. A warm and nurturing figure, Joan had raised Emily with strong values, emphasizing the importance of family and loyalty. The bond between mother and daughter was unbreakable, or so Emily thought. Joan, in her late 50s, was navigating the complexities of aging while trying to remain relevant in a world that often sidelined women of her age. As summer unfolded, Emily began to notice subtle changes in Mark's behavior. He seemed more distracted, often lost in thought or preoccupied with his phone. The late-night work commitments became more frequent, and his once constant affection began to wane. Initially, Emily brushed these changes aside, attributing them to work stress or the demands of parenting. But as the days turned into weeks, her concerns grew, and a nagging feeling of unease settled in her gut. One evening, Emily decided to confront Mark about her feelings. They sat together on their porch, the golden sunset casting a warm glow over their conversation. Mark listened as Emily expressed her worries, assuring her that everything was fine. But as she looked into his eyes, she sensed something deeper, a flicker of guilt that he couldn't quite mask. In the following days, Emily's intuition continued to nag at her. It wasn't long before she stumbled upon a series of texts on Mark's phone that would change everything. They were flirty and intimate, filled with terms of endearment that were reserved for the most passionate of relationships. Emily's heart raced as she read them, her mind racing with the implications. The sender's name was simply listed as Mom. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. Mark was having an affair, not just with anyone, but with her mother, Joan. The betrayal was unimaginable. How could the 2 people she loved most in the world do this to her? The sense of disbelief turned into a storm of emotions: anger, sadness, and ultimately, a profound sense of loss. Fueled by rage and heartbreak, Emily confronted her mother. The meeting was explosive, filled with accusations and tears. Joan initially denied any wrongdoing, claiming that the messages were innocent, merely a reflection of a close bond between mother and son-in-law. But as Emily presented undeniable evidence, Joan's facade began to crack. She admitted to the affair, revealing that it had started innocently enough, a shared moment of vulnerability that spiraled out of control. The aftermath of this revelation was catastrophic. Emily felt her world crumbling around her. The pain of betrayal seeped into every aspect of her life. Her children, unaware of the turmoil surrounding them, became the only source of solace for her. Yet even their innocent laughter could not fully drown out the anguish she felt. Mark, on the other hand, was torn between his love for Emily and his misguided feelings for Joan. He tried to justify his actions, claiming that he felt neglected and sought comfort in the arms of someone who understood him. Emily couldn't comprehend how he could betray her so profoundly. The man she had built a life with, the father of her children, had shattered her trust in the most unimaginable way. In the weeks that followed, the family dynamics shifted drastically. Joan moved out of Emily's life, unable to face her daughter's pain. Mark, desperate to salvage his marriage, sought counseling, but the chasm between him and Emily felt insurmountable. Emily grappled with feelings of inadequacy, questioning her worth and the choices that had led to this moment. The small town, which had once been a refuge, turned into a suffocating cage. Friends and neighbors whispered behind closed doors, their judgment weighing heavily on Emily. She felt exposed, her life dissected by those who barely knew her. The betrayal that had begun in the shadows now played out in public, and Emily struggled to reclaim her narrative. As the months passed, Emily began to find strength in her pain. She sought therapy, determined to confront the emotional wreckage left by her mother and husband. The sessions were cathartic, allowing her to explore her feelings of anger and loss. She realized she couldn't change the actions of others, but she could control how she responded. Slowly, she began to rebuild her life, focusing on her children and her own healing. Meanwhile, Mark was left grappling with the consequences of his choices. His attempts to reconcile with Emily were met with resistance. She no longer recognized the man he had become, a man capable of such betrayal. Their conversations grew increasingly tense, filled with unspoken resentments and the weight of lost love. Joan, too, faced the consequences of her actions. The guilt of her betrayal hung over her like a dark cloud. She reached out to Emily seeking forgiveness, but the scars of betrayal were still fresh. Emily struggled to reconcile the image of her mother as a nurturing figure with the reality of her betrayal. Their relationship hung in the balance, with neither willing to bridge the gap between them. As autumn arrived, Emily decided to take a step back from the turmoil surrounding her. She took a leave of absence from work and enrolled in a self-discovery retreat. It was a chance to breathe, to reflect, and to redefine her sense of self. The retreat offered a sanctuary from the chaos of her life, allowing her to connect with others who had experienced their own forms of betrayal and loss. Through meditation and introspection, Emily began to reclaim her identity. She realized that while she could not erase the pain of the past, she could use it as a catalyst for growth. She explored her passions, rediscovered her love for painting, and even began to write about her experiences. The canvas became a medium for her pain, allowing her to express the emotions that had been bottled up for too long. As winter approached, Emily returned home with a renewed sense of purpose. She focused on her children, nurturing their growth and happiness. She also began to rebuild her social circle, surrounding herself with supportive friends who lifted her spirits. With each passing day, the weight of her past began to feel lighter, though the scars remained. Meanwhile, Mark continued to struggle with his own demons. He sought therapy, trying to understand the motivations behind his actions and the damage he had inflicted on his family. But every step forward seemed to come with a reminder of what he had lost. He missed Emily's laughter, the warmth of their home, and the innocence of family life. In an attempt to mend the fractured relationship, Mark reached out to Emily once more. He expressed remorse, acknowledging the pain he had caused and the need for accountability. Emily listened, but remained guarded. While she appreciated his efforts, she was not ready to forgive him completely. The path to healing was a long one, and she wasn't willing to rush it. As the new year approached, Emily decided to take control of her narrative. She began volunteering at a local women's shelter, using her experiences to help others navigate their own struggles. It was empowering to see how her pain could serve a purpose, providing solace and support to those who felt lost. The connection she forged with the women at the shelter became a source of strength, allowing her to rise above her own circumstances. In an unexpected turn of events, Joan attempted to reach out to Emily once again. This time, she came with humility, offering an honest apology and a desire to rebuild their relationship. Emily was torn. The mother she once adored had betrayed her trust in the most profound way. Yet she realized that healing was a journey she needed to embark on, not just for herself but for her children. After much contemplation, Emily agreed to meet with Joan. The encounter was fraught with tension, as unspoken words hung heavy in the air. Joan opened up about her struggles and insecurities, sharing how her own feelings of inadequacy had led her to seek validation in the wrong places. Emily listened, her heart torn between anger and empathy. In that moment, something shifted. Emily recognized the humanity in her mother, the flawed woman who had made a terrible mistake. The conversation was raw and emotional, filled with tears and apologies. While forgiveness did not come easily, it marked the beginning of a long and arduous healing process for both women. As spring blossomed, Emily found herself at a crossroads. She had begun to redefine her life on her terms, but the specter of Mark still loomed large. He had shown remorse and a willingness to change, but the question remained, could she trust him again? After much reflection, Emily decided to give Mark another chance, but with conditions. They would attend couples therapy together, addressing the underlying issues that had led to the affair. The journey toward rebuilding trust would be slow, requiring open communication and vulnerability from both sides. As they worked through their issues, Emily found herself rediscovering the love that had initially drawn them together. It was a different love, shaped by their experiences but nonetheless powerful. Mark committed to being transparent and supportive, proving that he was willing to put in the work to regain her trust. Throughout this tumultuous journey, the family began to heal. Emily and Mark learned to communicate more openly, and their bond deepened. While the scars of betrayal would always remain, they found a new rhythm in their family life. They began to create new memories, one small moment at a time. Family dinners took on a new significance, with laughter returning to their home, albeit cautiously. Each shared meal was a testament to their effort to heal, a symbolic act of rebuilding what had once seemed irreparably broken. Emily also embraced her newfound strength. She established boundaries with Joan, allowing her mother to be part of her life again, but with a clear understanding that trust would take time to rebuild. Joan took her daughter's lead, attending counseling and working on her own issues of self-worth and validation. The two women began to reconnect, sharing coffee dates filled with light conversation, a tentative step toward healing. As summer returned, Emily felt a renewed sense of hope. She had not only survived but had begun to thrive. She rediscovered passions that had long been dormant, pouring her heart into her painting and writing. She decided to host an art show to showcase her work, focusing on themes of resilience, betrayal, and ultimately healing. The idea was cathartic, a way to channel her journey into something beautiful and inspiring. Mark was supportive of her efforts, helping to organize the show and ensure that the children were cared for during the preparations. He attended every planning meeting and volunteered to help set up the venue. Their teamwork was a stark contrast to the chaos that had once filled their home. Through the process, they began to communicate more effectively, discussing their hopes, dreams, and fears. The night of the art show arrived, and Emily was a bundle of nerves and excitement. The venue was filled with friends, family, and even some community members who had heard about her story. As she stood before her paintings, sharing her narrative through art, she felt empowered. The experience was not just about showcasing her work, it was about reclaiming her story, turning her pain into something meaningful. As Emily spoke, she shared her journey of betrayal, heartbreak, and ultimately healing. The vulnerability in her voice resonated with many in the room, sparking conversations about their own struggles and triumphs. By the end of the evening, Emily felt a sense of catharsis she hadn't anticipated. She had taken control of her narrative and transformed her pain into a powerful message of hope and resilience. Meanwhile, Mark watched from the sidelines, filled with admiration for the woman Emily had become. He realized that their journey wasn't just about mending their relationship, it was also about allowing each other to grow as individuals. The experience sparked something in him as well. He began to pursue his interests outside of work and family, exploring new hobbies and reconnecting with friends. However, the journey wasn't without its challenges. As they continued to navigate their relationship, Emily and Mark encountered moments of insecurity. Old wounds resurfaced, and there were times when trust felt like a fragile glass, ready to shatter at the slightest provocation. They learned that healing wasn't a linear process, it was filled with ups and downs. Joan also struggled with her role in the family. While she was making strides to repair her relationship with Emily, she often felt like an outsider looking in. She had lost the mother-daughter connection she had cherished, and the guilt of her betrayal lingered. There were moments of tension when Emily would recall memories of happier times before the affair, leaving Joan feeling like a pariah. One day, during a particularly candid conversation, Emily expressed her frustrations. "I want to forgive you, Mom, but sometimes I just feel so angry," she admitted. Joan listened, tears streaming down her face. "I understand. I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I just wish I could take it back," she replied, her voice trembling with remorse. That honesty opened the door for deeper conversations. They began to explore their feelings more openly, acknowledging the complexities of their relationship. With every honest discussion, the bond between mother and daughter started to strengthen, albeit slowly. They attended therapy together, learning about forgiveness, setting boundaries, and rebuilding trust. As autumn settled in, Emily and Mark decided to host a family gathering, inviting close friends and relatives. It was an opportunity to bring everyone together, to celebrate the progress they had made and to showcase their commitment to healing. They prepared the house, decorated with warmth and care, creating an atmosphere filled with love and laughter. On the day of the gathering, the house was alive with activity. Emily played host, feeling more comfortable in her role as the heart of their home. Mark was a steady presence, helping with the children and ensuring that everyone felt welcomed. The energy in the house was contagious, and for the first time in a long while, Emily felt a sense of normalcy returning. As guests arrived, Emily felt her heart swell with gratitude. Friends congratulated her on her art show, expressing admiration for her courage. The warmth of their support enveloped her, reminding her that she was not alone on this journey. Mark moved through the crowd, sharing stories and laughter, embodying the man she had once fallen in love with. Joan arrived, nervous yet hopeful. As the evening progressed, she found herself drawn into conversations, sharing laughter and anecdotes. Emily watched as her mother began to reconnect with friends she hadn't seen in years. The ice between them began to thaw as they shared moments of vulnerability and joy. However, as the evening wore on, an unexpected confrontation occurred. An old family friend, unaware of the tensions, innocently asked Joan how she was adjusting to being a grandmother. In that moment, the room fell silent, the air thick with unspoken words. Emily felt her heart race, the old wounds surfacing. Feeling the need to protect her family, Emily spoke up. "It's been hard, but we're working on it," she said, her voice steady but laced with emotion. Joan nodded, understanding the tension that had arisen. "I'm trying my best to be here for Emily and my grandchildren," she added, her sincerity apparent. The moment hung in the air, heavy with the weight of their shared history. But instead of escalating, it became a catalyst for deeper understanding. Guests began to share their own experiences of overcoming difficulties in family relationships. Laughter replaced the tension, and the atmosphere shifted toward healing. As the night drew to a close, Emily felt a sense of closure. The gathering had served its purpose, bringing together those she loved and reinforcing the importance of family. Despite its flaws, it was a reminder that healing takes time and that progress is often made in small, meaningful steps. In the following weeks, Emily and Mark continued their journey of rebuilding. They attended therapy regularly, learning to communicate their needs and feelings more openly. Mark became more involved in the children's lives, attending school events and taking on more responsibilities at home. Emily appreciated the effort and began to feel the trust between them slowly strengthening. As winter approached, Emily decided to take a leap of faith. Inspired by her art show and the positive feedback she had received, she began exploring the idea of starting her own art business. She wanted to create a space where she could share her journey with others, perhaps even hosting workshops to help others express their feelings through art. Mark supported her vision wholeheartedly, encouraging her to pursue her dreams. He helped her create a business plan, offering insights and assistance every step of the way. Their partnership flourished as they shared this new endeavor, with both of them excited about the possibilities that lay ahead. Meanwhile, Joan continued to work on her relationship with Emily. They met regularly for coffee, each meeting a blend of laughter, tears, and healing. Joan shared stories from her own past, revealing vulnerabilities that had shaped her decisions. Emily listened, finding empathy for her mother's struggles, and slowly, a deeper connection began to form. One snowy evening as they sat together, Emily finally expressed her feelings. "I want to move forward, Mom. I want to forgive you. But it will take time," she said, her voice steady yet tender. Joan nodded, her eyes glistening with understanding. "I'm here for the long haul, Emily. I'll do whatever it takes," she promised, a sense of resolve in her voice. As the year came to a close, Emily's art business began to take shape. She hosted her first workshop, bringing together women from the community to explore their emotions through creativity. The experience was transformative, allowing her to connect with others who had faced their own struggles. The bond they formed became a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. Mark and Emily found themselves in a better place than they had been in years. They celebrated small victories, acknowledging the progress they had made together. While the road ahead still held challenges, they faced them with newfound strength and unity. As the new year dawned, Emily reflected on her journey. She had weathered the storm of betrayal and emerged stronger, more resilient, and determined to create a life filled with love and authenticity. The scars of the past would always remain, but they had transformed into symbols of her strength. Joan, too, had embarked on her own path of healing. She had taken responsibility for her actions and was committed to rebuilding her relationship with Emily. The journey was not without its struggles, but the love between mother and daughter began to blossom anew. Mark had also changed. He had learned the importance of communication, honesty, and the value of vulnerability in relationships. He was committed to being a better partner and father, proving that he could be trusted again. Together, they were learning to navigate the complexities of life with a deeper understanding of each other. As spring approached, Emily organized an art exhibit to showcase the work created during her workshops. It was a celebration of healing and connection, bringing together the community that had supported her throughout her journey. The event was a resounding success, filled with laughter, art, and stories of resilience. That night, as she stood among friends and family, Emily felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She had turned her pain into purpose and found strength in her journey. The exhibit was a testament to not just her artistic expression, but to the resilience of the human spirit. Each piece of art told a story of struggle, healing, and hope, resonating deeply with those who viewed them. As she looked around the room, Emily saw familiar faces, friends who had stood by her, supportive family members, and even Mark and Joan, both beaming with pride. The air was filled with joy and laughter, a stark contrast to the darkness that had once threatened to consume her. For the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. Later that evening, Emily found a moment alone with Mark. They stepped outside onto the balcony, where the cool breeze felt refreshing against their skin. "I can't believe how far we've come," she said, her voice filled with emotion. Mark took her hand, squeezing it gently. "I know. I'm grateful every day for this chance to rebuild. I'm committed to you and our family, always." Just then, Joan joined them, her eyes shining with tears of happiness. "I'm so proud of both of you," she said, her voice shaky but filled with warmth. Emily looked at her mother and felt a surge of love. "Thank you for being here, Mom. It means the world to me." As they stood together under the starry sky, a sense of renewal enveloped them. The past could not be changed, but they had the power to shape their future. In that moment, they understood that healing was a continuous journey, filled with ups and downs, but it was a journey they would navigate together. As the months rolled on, the family continued to grow and evolve. Emily's art business flourished, becoming a safe haven for many who sought solace in creativity. Mark remained devoted, actively participating in their children's lives and sharing the responsibilities of home. He and Emily created a nurturing environment, ensuring their children felt secure and loved. Joan, too, made strides in her personal growth. She began volunteering at the same women's shelter where Emily had started, working to empower others and share her story of redemption. This new chapter in her life allowed her to connect with women who had faced similar struggles, forging bonds that helped her heal the wounds of her past. As seasons changed and years passed, the once broken family transformed into a stronger unit. They celebrated birthdays, holidays, and ordinary moments that became extraordinary in their shared love. Emily and Mark discovered a renewed intimacy, their connection deepening as they continued to communicate openly about their feelings and needs. Emily often found herself reflecting on her journey, the painful betrayal, the struggle for healing, and the ultimate triumph over adversity. Each brushstroke on her canvas told a story of resilience, and she learned to embrace her journey, both the light and the dark. It became a source of inspiration for her art, allowing her to express the complexities of love, loss, and redemption. As she stood before a blank canvas one afternoon, preparing to create a new piece, Emily realized she had not just survived, she had thrived. The love she had for her family was rooted in understanding and forgiveness, a testament to the strength that lay within her. Life was no longer defined by betrayal but by the bonds of love and the lessons learned along the way. Emily had reclaimed her narrative, and in doing so, had turned her pain into power. She understood that healing was not a destination but a lifelong journey, and she embraced it with an open heart. In the years to come, the family continued to navigate life's challenges together, united in their commitment to growth and healing. They celebrated the beauty of their shared experiences, acknowledging the scars but also the strength that came from them. And so, as Emily painted, as Mark supported her endeavors, and as Joan continued to work on her own healing, they found joy in the everyday moments that life offered. Each day was a new opportunity to express love, to forgive, and to grow together as a family. In the end, their story was not one solely defined by tragedy. It became one of resilience, hope, and the unwavering power of love, a love that had weathered storms and emerged stronger than ever before. Together, they forged a new path, one filled with understanding, compassion, and the promise of a brighter future, forever intertwined in their journey of healing and redemption.